Hello, good evening, everyone. Just give me a second. I'm just configuring stuff. Give me a second.
Sure, sir.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Yeah, with me, I also have my colleague Shruti. So between the two of us, I think we will be covering this entire session. So yeah, welcome to this session. Before we probably begin everything formally, just wanted to get a sense that what does a batch strength look like? I can see about 31 people on the call so far. Is this like 70-80% of the batch, or are we still waiting for a couple of more people?
Batch strength
You're
is
waiting.
about 50, 49, 50 folks.
Okay. So we'll wait for another 4, 5, couple of folks to join in, and maybe when we hit 37, 38, we can just quickly begin.
Have the usual attendances on Saturday evenings?
It's
Sorry?
from same. I think roughly around 36, 35.
Yeah, correct.
Got it.
Okay, we'll just wait for a couple of minutes and then we can begin. Till then, I think I would like to start by saying all of you, thank you for joining in, and I hope you guys welcome both me and Shruti, and give us when we have the next 6 sessions or so when we interact. I think we'll try our best to essentially walk you through the essentials of MarTech, AdTech, and what it's supposed to be. We've been working with I'm Indore for about 7, 8 years. We primarily, I think, we've been taking a lot of sessions on search engine optimization, search engine marketing, Google Analytics. This is our second batch where we've done MarTech advertising and ad tech. So I think we have a good amount of content. And anyways, I think there's a lot of action that's happening. I professionally practice that. So I do my uh, official role is that I'm a senior vice president of strategy for one of the largest holdcos in the company in the country, actually in the world. It's called Densu. So that's a little bit about my background. Shruti is my colleague. I think she used to be working in the same organization that I am, and now she's working independently. So Shruti, if you want to just quickly give a bit of introduction about yourself, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, just keeping it very, very short. Like Nihal said, I was working with iProspect Densu a couple of years ago, and now I'm working as an independent consultant with a few firms in UK and Ireland. But yes, I'm still in the same line. I'm majorly in the field of search marketing, analytics, SEO and content. A bit of AdTech and MarTech comes into it, but it's Nihal's mainly, which is integrated strategy. Yes, and I'm very excited to bring this course to you and curate this video along with Nihal.
All right, awesome. So I think we also have about 39 folks in the Zoom call. So I think to all of you, once again, welcome. I think in the interest of time, we shall begin. But before we begin, a couple of house rules quickly. I think the way I like to do the presentation is I like to keep it very real, keep it very grounded. Uh, want to give make it less academic, show it more practical. So we'll follow the presentation through that mode. During the course of the presentation, we would love to get your questions, which you can put in the chat. Between me and Shruti, we will address those questions as they come. And during this overall session, also, we will park a couple of minutes in the middle where we have a live conversation as that is needed. However, that being said, there is a diverse, group of people amongst you. Some of you are absolutely new to whatever MarTech AdTech is. Some of you might be practitioners. Some of you might have heard some of these terms. So, in our experience, we've been, like I said, we've been doing this for some time, about 6 years now with I am Indore. We've observed that there are always a couple of people who are ahead of the curve. They understand a lot of these things, but for most of them, I think it is something very fresh and new. So we try to address the fundamentals of it, and we try to keep it basic. My only humble request is, for the interest of your larger peers in the session, do not ask questions which are extremely specific and nuanced to your specific problem statement that you're trying to solve. The reason for that is that it then becomes a consulting engagement where two people are asking specific questions about their organization. But for the larger ecosystem, it's like, क्या चल रहा है इन दोनों के बीच में, मुझे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, or I don't understand what's going on among these people, because that is what there. So we would love to hear questions. Curiosity is something I absolutely encourage. But let's keep it in, please respect the peers that we have among ourselves, so that all the questions are is valuable to the larger group. We will do our best to address all the questions, and I think from there, I think we could probably pick it up. Okay. So with that, I think, okay, I can see Anmol, you raised your hand even before you started. So, okay, we'll take one question before we start, and then we'll
Yeah, I
jump
just
dive.
pasted the question in the chat also. What would be great to know, and thanks for giving us the introduction, Professor Nehal and Shruti. What we'd also like to know is how much is AI and OpenAI platforms or any other, use cases that gets integrated into the sessions. That would be great to know equally. And any specific platforms
Sure,
that
sure.
we might want to look at.
Yeah, sure. So the way I'm designing, or we've designed these platforms, is outcome based. Uh, I'm not, I mean, while I am touching upon the transformation journey that AI has provided, but I can assure you, in commercial landscape, AI has not yet replaced what is the cutting edge of today's uh, MarTech and AI platforms. So I don't want you to be, what I would say, get overwhelmed by the hype that is created by AI. Yes, there has been a hype phase that was there on AI. Then it got died down, and now real world applications are coming through. I'm not denying the power of AI. I work in the industry left, right, and center. AI, especially voice agents, AI, especially MarTech agents, have been creating a transformational piece. But before understanding how AI is changing the world, we need to understand what the world is made up of. And I think the focus that I want to build in the course of the next 4-5 sessions is basically how the world works right now, before we talk about specifics of how AI is going to transform that. So I think that's the way I've structured the session. Like I said, I've designed the session so that we don't get overwhelmed with jargon. I'm going to tell you upfront right now, if you just go and research about MarTech, AdTech online, there's going to be tons of jargon thrown off at your face. I am also going to probably, there's some of the jargons are inescapable. I have to kind of talk about it. You'll hear terms CDP, automation, this, that. but I don't want you to be overwhelmed. So let's quickly start in this, and then I think as we proceed, we get better and better understanding of what this entire piece is. I hope that's cool. Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to start off doing with is first understand what is the transformation that AdTech platforms and MarTech platforms are bringing. What do you mean by that? AdTech means advertising technologies. MarTech means marketing technologies. But any of these technologies fundamentally transform a marketing campaign or an advertising campaign. You're with me so far? Now, why, when we say we are transforming these campaigns, how are they transforming? They are transforming these campaigns in the manner that the campaign concept or the ideas are being given to the end consumer. So just to probably familiarize ourselves with what this is, let's keep our mind absolutely open. And I'm going to show you a couple of different types of use cases of how brands have created some fantastic marketing and advertising campaigns. How they did this is what MarTech and AdTech platforms address, but we'll get into that one by one. So let's start off by looking at a couple of very, very interesting campaigns that have been out there in the market. I'm just going to be sharing my screen. Just give me a second, please. All right. I hope you guys can see my screen. I'm just
Yeah, visible.
okay, super. So what we're going to do is I have a couple of use cases for you, case studies for you. Let's look at each one of these ones. The first one is something by Cadbury. Okay, I'm going to play the video first, and then we'll spend 5 minutes discussing this ad. Some of you may have seen this, but in case you have not, I just thought I chose one campaign which is extremely familiar for most of us.
Big businesses and brands that suffer during the
Quick audio check. Can you guys hear my hear the audio from the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Yes,
Okay.
we
Okay, so what I want, okay, sorry, I want to lay down one more context. Observe the campaign that the video that has been showing. And in your mind, I want you guys to think about how did they do this? What do you think is the technology, or what are the processes that they may have followed in order to basically pull this off? I want you to start thinking in that particular way. And before that also, I want to think about what was the intended outcome of this entire campaign. One, what they tried to accomplish, and how did it get accomplished that, right? So these two questions we should try and address at the end of this video. Okay, so let's go.
pandemic found their way back. Big businesses and brands that suffered during the pandemic found their way back, but the smaller stores still suffer.
This lockdown has been a real tough phase of my life. I mean, I have seen bad days, but this was the worst.
Last year we helped small businesses through Diwali, so this year we decided to bring it back. Presenting not just a Cadbury ad. This Diwali, we helped hundreds of small businesses by making India's biggest brand ambassador be their brand ambassador.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाले फैशन नोवा एम्पोरियम से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना, और फिर एम्पायर फुटवेयर, नाम तो सुना होगा ना। अपना स्टाइलिश चश्मा बगल वाले हेवन आई ऑप्टिशियन से ही लेना। सिद्धि विनायक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से लेटेस्ट स्मार्टफोन खरीदकर धमाकेदार सेल्फी पोस्ट करना।
क्या कर रहे हो? मीठा लाए कि नहीं?
लाया हो ना यार, अपने पास वाले रोशन किराना से। आप भी अपना मीठा वहीं से लेना।
We used machine learning to recreate Shah Rukh Khan's face and voice to take the local store names in the ads.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाले चॉइस ऑफ फैशन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना। पास वाले आजकल फैशन से ही, रॉयल फैशन से ही, एनके क्लॉथ्स से ही, पास वाले लक्ष्मी कलेक्शन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना। इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास।
Different versions of the same ad with local store names were targeted as per the PIN code of the viewer, showing them only the nearby stores. But it is impossible to cover all the stores. So we gave the power to the people to create their own version of not just a Cadbury ad. Any small business owner could promote their stores through their own social media networks like WhatsApp forwards and other social media pages.
हमारे आसपास की जो दुकानें हैं उनकी दिवाली भी तो मीठी होनी चाहिए।
Cadbury celebrations, not just a Cadbury ad.
Okay. I'm going to just stop the video. I have a couple of more use cases like this, but let's discuss this particular use case. So point number one, first of all, how many of you have actually seen this ad actually on your YouTube Meta, and or how many of you have at least heard of this ad? Maybe you just want to raise your hand quickly.
So I am actually aware of this ad.
Brilliant.
Sonali here.
Hi,
Yeah,
Sonali.
because while I was working with Philips, so we took inspiration from this very ad, and then we reached out to rephrase.ai, because when we were planning our Diwali campaign with Sania Malhotra, so we actually reached out to them, and then we created a similar asset where it, towards the end of the video, the CTA was to reach out to the nearest Philips Experience Center and then go and explore lighting. So very, very
So
close
thank
to this ad.
So thank you so much, Sonali. And this is exactly what I was talking about. So for Sonali, this is very, very relevant and personal. How about the other people? And it is great that you have somebody like Sonali, because now you can get the inside track on what they did. But I think for the other people, any comments on how do you think? I mean, while they've revealed some of the components there, how do you think this is different from the way traditionally Cadbury has done? Do you remember 90s में कुछ मीठा हो जाए? From there से लेकर अब तक, what is the difference in what Cadbury has actually done? Anybody wants to comment on that?
I think they used a good mix of AI and hyper local targeting
Yeah.
to ensure that not only the Kirana shops, featuring a Kirana shop in a national ad, which couldn't be possible with a generalist kuch meetha ho jaye, but with the names of the shops, it becomes quite targeted. And that's what you see, and you get that local connect also.
So brilliant. So Anmol threw up a term called as hyper local ads. How many of you know what a hyper local ad is, or how do you actually do hyper local targeting? Yeah, anyone can answer. I mean, it's just an open forum.
So this was basically a data-driven approach. I mean, based on the location of the retailers, the outlets, this hyper-local targeting approach was used.
So exactly. So anybody can do hyperlocal targeting, but how can I do hyperlocal targeting where I say that, say for example, if I am based out of Navi Mumbai, one of you is based out of Indore, one of you is based out of a different part of Indore, then wherever you are, uske the shop next to it is basically where you can get served.
Radius based, you could do radius based, tower to tower, you could do pin based, you could do Google My Business lat long based. So
okay, so it seems Anmol, you have come from this background, so I think you have quite a bit of understanding. So for a second, Anmol, thank you so much for sharing that, but I would like to hear from the larger group as well. Have you heard of these terms? Do you understand what are the dynamics of hyperlocal? If not, don't worry. The idea is to basically, but essentially, how did it do this? How did they ensure that now I'm not just creating one campaign which is for pan India, but for every location? And MarTech technologies today enable you to essentially zoom in to the level of, say, for example, even if you're like in a shopping mall and if you're on the second floor, I have the technology to target you and tell you that if you're on the second floor of the shopping mall, then shopping mall ka second floor pe there is a shop. Why don't you go there and target it there? So a
Yes.
couple of MarTech technologies and advertising technologies came together to build this. The most obvious one is AI, which cloned Shah Rukh Khan's face and voice in order to create those 5,000 small business owners. That is an obvious piece, and I think that one of your peers from Philips mentioned about rephrase.ai. So good that you've revealed the technology, but they used a technology platform which is considered to be an AdTech platform, which use the cloning to kind of ensure that you can create those local videos. But at the same time, the other technology that supported this entire campaign is the ability to ensure that, say, if in the pin code A, small business of pin code A video is only being served. Because what this would have been a major blunder. Imagine that there are 10,000 pin codes, and each pin code there are 4 or 5 such small business owners. Now imagine if, say, for example, in pin code B, pin code A's what you say shops were targeted. That would have been a blunder, right? So they created a large matching algorithm which allowed you to not only target it to the pin codes, but also essentially map it to the relevant content that is out there. Now, humans could have done this. If you have an Excel sheet database of 1 lakh pin codes, in that uske baju mein those five SMEs per person, it would have been doable. But it would probably take you maybe 3 months of preparation to launch this campaign live. Why Martech came into place into this? Because by aggregating the data through a technology platform, they were able to go live with this campaign in about 10 to 15 days. And that is the transformation that Martech does. Don't think of Martech and AdTech platforms as this, oh, ये कुछ तो नया technology बन गया जिसने बहुत ही चीजें किया. The first step always comes in terms of what is the ideation, and then identify where the enabling technology comes in order to make the process more efficient or a lot more better. This is one use case. Again, Martech and AdTech is a big playground. So we'll go one by one and see a different use case right now. Again, I'm going to present my presentation. Yeah, this was Cadbury's.
Big.
The second one I'm going to play, I'm just going to open that. You must have seen this one as well.
Did you catch that Puma dive? What if we told you that Pumas are visible in every single game? And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Presenting the Puma dive. Just click a picture of any dive and post it on X with hashtag Puma dive. We'll analyze and reply with instant dive scores. Every dive means a guaranteed reward and a chance to play with Virat. So go and catch the Puma dive.
So, all right. How many of you have seen this campaign?
So I've seen this ad.
Okay.
These were those trial learnings that we were getting at the early stages when the machine learning, AI, everything was getting introduced. And how you can penetrate into the social segment, into your audience, and generate a top of value, top of time recall.
Yeah,
So I think
it's
Puma
most
wanted
about
to do
viral
that.
moments. Yeah,
Yes.
topical
Yes.
moment marketing, and where you could insert brand into it, and how whenever a
Relatable.
sports, any match or anything is happening, and you see everything, and then the brand automatically integrates into it.
Correct.
It
Perfect.
was more on that lines where top of mind recall can be generated and how relatable your brand can be with a larger audience.
Correct. So now let's decompose what this campaign is all about and how they would have probably done it. So number one, typically Puma, or how you see Nike or any of the shoe companies, they tie up with a celebrity sports star. Then they basically create a one beautiful motivation message kind of a campaign. How many of you recall those kind of videos? Then they plaster the campaign, and then everybody is like, oh, just do it. Such a viral video. These sports stars are an inspiration. Through their grit, through their hard work, they have basically done. But Puma came up with a completely different campaign idea because they were like, everything is the same. Nike is also talking the same thing. Reebok is also talking the same thing. I'm also talking the same thing. So I'll change the game. Now, what they said is that I'm not even going to produce any film. What was the first thing missing from this campaign? They never created a film at all. Remember in Cadbury's, they created AI user to clone multiple films. In this campaign, there is not a single film or a creative asset that they created. Zero.
Trigger.
Zero creative spends. What they told, however, told the users, तुम्ही match का image capture करो, you capture the image and put it on the social channel. And then you put a hashtag over there. That Puma died. So the campaign idea is innovative because they actually use the moment marketing, as some of you have said, where people like to talk about people doing different activities and putting over there. But why is this even more natural is because people naturally put iconic catches. If some of you are like millennials and earlier, you remember Jaunty Roads and that zamana where everything he used to do used to go viral, and we used to talk about the way he used to do catches. Now, for example, they said that what do people share on social media? when they hit a 6, when they hit a 4, when there's a helicopter shot, when there is a iconic catch that is coming in. So they said that out of all of this, a catch looks like a puma, the icon of their brand. So they said, you are anyways posting it. Why don't you post more of such catches and you just tag my hashtag? Now, Twitter is not owned by Puma, and they do not spend a single rupee of advertising on Twitter either. So what they did, they invested in a MarTech platform, which we in our trade call as a social listening platform, which essentially listens to all the conversations that are happening on Twitter. By the way, these social listening platforms can also listen to Facebook and any other platform, identify how many of them have actually used the hashtag, identify hashtag mein how many people have put that image, and the better the image, they use a machine learning algorithm on the fly to identify how if the image resembles closely the puma ka icon that they have. So imagine now, if we were to do this campaign manually, it was possible. We have 40 people in the room today. All 40 of us should sit during match, but we will not see the match. We will be on Twitter. We'll wait for everybody to put content. Arey, mere feed mein aa gaya. Suddenly, arey, capture screenshot le lo. We'll send it to the marketing team. Then the marketing team will be like, let's see if this looks like a Puma icon. And then we'll say, oh, this looks like a Puma icon. This is a contest. And we basically will run the campaign. But why is this different now? No human intervention. An automated MarTech platform, which is a social listening platform, automatically captured the feeds. Automatic image processing platform used basically the feeds to map it to a Puma. Of course, if for those of you who are a little bit AI savvy, etc., basically the idea is they grounded a lot of pictures already and pre-trained the platform, AI platform and the machine learning platform to identify those patterns. And then basically they gave scores to each of them, and basically the users who gave the screenshot or the image which is closest to the Puma icon eventually won a particular scorecard. So what has happened here again, there was a great campaign idea and they plugged in these technology platforms so that things would be real time. Now why was this all required real time? The match is happening right now as we speak. People are going to tweet about it real time. 5 seconds pehle Virat has hit a 6. There's a catch that was there. They will put the content on social media right now. You cannot wait 3 days or 10 days to actually process the campaign and then do that. It is real time. So it cannot be done by humans. And therefore, they used these two platforms to analyze and make the campaign go live. What is important in this? 0 rupees advertising spend. No advertising on TV, media, etc. In fact, no creative created. Second one, no advertising on Twitter. All they did was basically capture the data which was already there. So this is what you would call as a MarTech platform. Again, completely different use case from what Cadbury did. Yeah. Now let's go to maybe the third use case.
So just a question.
Yeah.
May we know the names of the platforms that were used to create the ad? Not just the ad, but also the post analysis of the ad and so on.
So we will go one by one to that. So before you leap and you talk about these advanced platforms, let's first understand the different use cases. So eventually, obviously, the idea is to introduce you to some of these platforms. So in our next week, we will be doing deep dive into those platforms. But today is about top level understanding where do you use MarTech, where do you not use MarTech or AdTech platforms. That is very, very important. Most people are like, oh, if I take this platform, I spend 1 crore on this platform, my life is going to be sorted. No, first comes the idea, then you basically understand what platforms need. Okay. Now let's look at this third concept. This is a slightly global case study. It's slightly older. Okay.
Sorry, I just one more question. You did mention that like they didn't have any spends at all. It's a zero spends, right?
Yeah.
I just have a question. Like, how did they reach this communication, whether it is campaign communication, to the consumers or the end people, to put that in Twitter or however it is, like, and how did the communication reach to the people?
Social
so there
media
should be
and
some spin, right?
Social media and virality, because you can put content on social media for without any money. I mean, okay, when I say any money, they must have put little bit like 10, 15 lakh rupees, obviously, to pay the influencers, talk about it and all of that. Of course, amplification is important, that a campaign is happening. I understand what you're saying, but it is not like the mainstream way of doing advertising. That is the difference.
Understand. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But see, the idea here, guys, is to understand what has been done and then decompose it. Okay. So this is a third use case study. It's slightly global use case study. I'm going to play this for you guys.
I haven't slept in weeks, but these tired feet can't rest tonight. Traveling by the moon, I'm gonna get there soon. Not gonna close my eyes. As hard as it is to say, when you're miles away, I still need you. I'm gonna start a fire just to be reminded of the one we knew. We're going home for the summer. We have 1,000 to light that we are bound to uncover if we just give it the time. All my plans are in you. You're my gold mine. They say that we're getting close when the colors show. I can see you shine. I know that talk is cheap, but let's just see what hides inside. We're going home for the summer. We have 1,000 light that we are bound to uncover if we just give it the time. All my plans are in you. You're the hand I'm holding to. If you jump, I'll jump too. You're my gold mine.
Right. So this is a slightly more nuanced, omni-channel campaign, as we call it. Now let's break this down, right? Now, if any one of you were working for a hotel like a Hilton, what would you do? You would run your normal campaigns, your advertising on search media. You'll be like, anybody searching for Hilton, I will try to target them. But here was a slightly different thinking. They wanted to target a very specific type of consumer, which is people who are stranded on the airports due to flight cancellations. So what we did, and this is my company in the US, right? So what we did is we built a proprietary MarTech platform, which takes data from the flight information APIs. So if you see Google as a flight information API, there are flightstats.com, there are different websites that give you the live status of flight, whether it is there, delayed, etc., etc. That data was ingested, and that data was used to basically control your search ad campaigns to kind of identify and show ads on consumers who are searching for a particular keyword. Now, this is again an automated campaign because there's no human intervention. Whenever flights are delayed or whenever there is some cancellations that are happening, you are basically capturing the data automatically, and you are basically using it to modify your search campaigns. But they went obviously one step above that, because attribution was possible, and they knew that person A actually came in through the flight cancellation campaign in their records, which, by the way, say for example, a person was searching or stranded. So let's look at the sequence of events that happened. A flight was stranded at Boston. So the person is now in the airport, frustrated, searching for maybe a hotel near the Boston airport or wherever that place is. They show up an ad. The person clicks the ad. The person goes to Hilton's website, books a hotel room, closes it. Now, because of the availability of the MarTech technologies, you are able to identify that this consumer actually purchased a flight because of the flight cancellation campaign that we have done across. Now, when they understood this, they basically were able to create a customized experience in the hotel for the consumer. And why? Because hospitality industry is all about humans, consumer experiences, etc. Moreover, they had a second MarTech platform track where they were tracking the social media handles of people, of their customers, for any mentions of Hilton. And when they saw that, they were able to give that burger and saying Friday night and all those experiences that were created. So again, a second platform, which again uses social listening in a completely different manner in order to enable this. Now, is the learning of this entire campaign? This is not a universal campaign. First of all, it is targeted to a specific niche of consumers. Unlike the Mondelez Cadbury campaign, unlike the previous campaign that we talked about, this is for a specific type of consumer at a specific incident. Second one is basically that they created a proprietary MarTech platform. So it is not necessary that there are like whatever outside there are platforms available which are ready-made to do these kind of solutions. Sometimes you can build, and for that you need to understand data design, right? So now we are going into the brass tacks of that. Again, not today. We will not discuss these today, but I'm just trying to give you how technology enabled a particular type of transformation which changed the way you did advertising, right? So therefore, this is this is not a MarTech, this is an AdTech platform that was kind of built. Yes, Cliff, I can see your hand raised.
Right. So the campaign was fantastic. I love the idea how they personalized it. I'm just curious, how would he? I can understand you could find how a flight may have been cancelled, but to know specifically if or tag that this particular person who's lost his flight because of being cancelled has booked an hotel. How do you get that information? Because wouldn't that be private or restricted information?
Loyalty.
Okay.
Loyalty. Hilton Honors Program.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yes, the campaign idea is obviously to make it beautiful and award-winning. I think elements were merged. I will say that we agencies do those kind of things.
Yeah.
The idea is that it was the loyalty program. So this was a loyalty customer who was kind of tracked and essentially that end-to-end experience created. But the idea remains that anybody whose flight cancellations happened, we were targeting them. And then after that, basically, maybe a subset of them were loyalty consumers where they went one step beyond and gave that personalized experience.
But Professor Nihal, just wanted to understand, is there a platform that was actually attributing there, or this was just from a submission perspective for the award that this video was created, that you mapped the entire journey, which we generally do in advertising, and I've also done it in the past. But just wanted to understand, were there two platforms really talking to each other?
Sure. So, so there are two data sources talking to each other, but the unification happened on the loyalty, the Hilton Honors piece. So, how did we acquire the customer? What was the campaign that acquired? What is this consumer talking on social media is part of a unified data platform with the CDP that we had built for them at the back. But again, I don't want to use jargons right now to confuse people. There was a unification, but it's not a 100% absolute unification.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So cool. So guys, we've done three different campaign concepts for now. The first one is Cadbury Mondelez. The second one was the Puma campaign, and the third one was Hilton. With me so far, interesting use cases of how technology is changing the way we are doing advertising. Understand the concept where we are getting it. The idea that I'm trying to establish is a spectrum of ideas and the technology transformation that can happen on marketing or advertising is immense. Before we get in, understand what are these technology platforms that enable this, we need to understand what are the outcomes that we are trying to establish. Okay, so let's go for the fourth use case. You guys with me? Ready? Okay. I'm sharing my screen once again. Yeah. All right. So this one is going to be interesting for people. And if this accidentally entices the Saturday night feelings in you, then I'm sorry. I'm going to play this video.
watch out, baby. Yeah, I know you been like that. Got it like a holster, baby. Show them say you're wicked like that. We live where the war is raging, chasing our crazy dreams, hoping that the bridge won't cave in. So now we'll let it all go free. Give me the thing, I made me rockin' at the dance. Give me the thing, I made me rockin' at the dance. Man, she don't like stepping at the dance. Give me the thing, I made me rock, 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 rock. Give me the thing, I made me light it up.
Show them your flame to the fire. It's spraying like your name on a flyer. They wanna tame your desire, but you light it up, now your aim getting higher. I dey wait for Messiah, but until that day, I'ma rise up high. I put my light in the air, I wanna see everywhere. Let me see you. You break you for the sequel. Be my day for my people. I know say I'm out to be next like my neighbor. Let me see you. Put your lighters on. Lighters on.
Light it up. It's a blaze like a candle wick. Yeah, light it up.
Yeah. So basically, in this campaign, we recreated that friend who is like, कुछ भी हो, चल दारू पीते हैं. That was the idea. So if it's Friday, चल दारू पीते हैं. It is lunchtime, चल दारू पीते हैं. अरे फुटबॉल में we won, let's चल दारू पीते हैं. फुटबॉल में we lost, चल दारू पीते हैं. So the idea that was built, and it is very similar to the first case study on the Shah Rukh Khan Cadbury's ad, was that any consumer is near a pub, let's have alcohol, Heineken. Any person, any event that has happened, please let's have alcohol. And you saw those 10,000 variations. Now this is basically going one step beyond the one that was there, because that was only hyper local. I was trying to target consumers basis the proximity of the user to the particular small business. In this particular case, the proximity of the user, the time of the day of the week, major sporting events, because of obviously UK English football, any fan that is out there, fan after the match, you go and have the football. So you create that. Now, again, let's build on the complexities that was there. So first and foremost, in the Shah Rukh Khan's ML ad, they just replaced one word, right? The name of the business and the category. So if it's like जूता खरीदना है तो यहाँ पे जाओ, ये खाना है तो आप ये बेकरी पे जाओ. So it was just 2 or 3 words that were customized and built at scale. In this particular case, the context was changed and personalized basis, say, the time of the day. So if it's time of the day and day of the week, then the system automatically generated a different type of copy and a creative variation that was out there. So this was not like just a logic-based permutation combination. It was more of a true dynamic variations that were built. And then more importantly, imagine the complexity of the serving. So for example, imagine the number of variables or data systems that were inputted to kind of build those variations and target the consumer. Now, all of this, during the video, I don't know if you saw a platform called as DV360. Now, DV360 is Google's programmatic platform. Again, we will be covering programmatic platforms. It's the AdTech platform to be. We will be talking about that in our next session when we get into the actual systems that are out there. But the idea that I'm trying to say is that this kind of insane campaign idea can only be done when you use these kind of platforms together. Now, traditionally, alcohol advertising is very restricted. So when you saw 670,000 pounds value generated, why was this so transformational? Because by law, they couldn't advertise Chal Daru Pite Hai on television or digital. So this was organic social content. So what was happening was no matter, and obviously with a little bit of basic push, post boosting and all of that. But the idea was that the content was created basis time of the day of the week, proximity to a location. They were pushing that content very, very smartly using programmatic. And that is why the way they executed the campaign was essentially very, very strong and powerful, and it generated a lot of eyeballs and traction that was out there.
Just one question I had.
Yes.
Is this something similar to what YouTube does on Director Mix that they kind of took to other platforms?
Yes. So director may okay. So just I'll answer your question, Anmol, but for the larger people, YouTube is, we all know YouTube, it's a platform where we put videos. As part of their ad platform initiatives, YouTube gives you a lot of tools. Director's Mix is one of those tools that allow you to create personalized videos, but the output is the same. But director mix works in a slightly different way because it only creates variations which are used in advertising, Anmol. So they are more helpful for creating like 6-second or 15-second cuts, which are the variations. The master variations are still created by a creative agency. In this particular case, even the masters are created through the MarTech and the AdTech system. And that is why it's slightly different. Yeah. Okay. So let's go on to the next one. Sorry, I have a couple of these case studies because the idea is to basically tell you the diversity of use cases and what this opens up for us. Yeah. So let's go back to the presentation. And let's move on to the next case study. Okay. Now, some of you may have seen this. I'm going to play this again.
The Traffic Jam Whopper. We used real-time data to detect our potential buyers in a traffic jam to offer them a Whopper and deliver on the move.
Fernanda, buenos días. Señor Eduardo, buenas tardes.
¡Ay, qué bello!
Llegaste en chinga, cabrón. Me cagaba de hambre.
Our media was 100% dynamic, promoting our service only in high congestion zones. By leveraging traffic and drivers' real-time data, we adjusted our billboards' location and content. The messages displayed information about the remaining time in traffic to order and personalized updates about deliveries in progress. Also, Waze banner ads and push notifications invited drivers to get a Whopper as soon as they entered our delivery zones. People were able to use voice commands to place the order and avoid tickets. Finally, using the latest Google Maps APIs, our app pinpointed vehicle location and speed in order to deliver for the first time ever to a driver on the move. The delivery zones changed following the traffic live, making our service available when a gridlock was identified, always within a 3-kilometer radius from the restaurants.
Hola Mariana, ¿cómo estás?
¡Ay, te agarraría besos!
Lo siento, estoy en servicio.
In just 1 week, we increased delivery orders by 63%, and our daily app download rate increased 44 times, becoming the #1 fast food app, surpassing McDonald's, Domino's, and Starbucks in Mexico. Coming soon, Los Angeles, San Paulo, and Shanghai. The Traffic Jam Whopper.
Enjoy the traffic jam.
Okay, so for this one, I would like to hear you guys decompose it in the same way. So what do you think about the campaign and how do you think they accomplish it? Of course, a lot of it was revealed in the video itself, but do you think this is actually MarTech or AdTech, or is it something different? Wanted to hear your thoughts.
I believe it is more of a MarTech because when compared with all the other ads, it's more towards the faster delivery and increasing the delivery rate, and of course linked with the business. It's more of a MarTech than I would say, like, AdTech. So in fact, I find that this particular campaign or this particular ad would have given a better ROI than the other three ads, I would say, because I find this to be more interesting than the other three.
Thanks,
I
thanks.
I think that they picked up a very quick common problem
Of Bangalore.
and of Bangalore. वो तो Domino's ने copy कर ही लिया थोड़े time पहले. But इधर के भी traffic situation में इतना wait, biggest thing to entertain is food. So, and their delivery partners are anyways transiting from one point to another point while that traffic comes in between. So they catched on to something which is really there and which can be a quick way to convert their brand also and increase a little more visibility or maybe more orders for that zone.
I think it was a mix of using Google Traffic API, location APIs, and then they also use the in-app integration to kind of push across the notifications to the users as we saw in the ad. And then the digital screens on the OH, they use the correct placements basis the lat long or the location or the app basically. And they all these platforms are talking to each other. So I'll say it's a mix of everything. And then of course the on-ground logistics. They ensured that the logistics partner was given the right lat long of the vehicle or the position of the vehicle to reach that place. Otherwise, this whole campaign would have fallen flat.
Correct. So absolutely. So I would argue that this is not, I mean, the marketing component of it was very small. This is more of a distribution ops kind of a logic. So it's a great, so technically they built quick commerce application. Basically what a Blinkit did, what other guys do, how do you basically do the shortest distance path mapping? They build a distribution or a supply chain innovation using real-time traffic data, etc., where now the consumer is not just a static location, but a moving location, plus the consumer can do an order. Yes, the notifications that this is all just flashy gimmicks over and above that. So the core of this idea is not MarTech or AdTech at all, in fact. So why did I show this example specifically? Because I want to tell you that a lot of technologies are out there to do different aspects, but not all technologies are MarTech AdTech. So we also need to kind of get a flavor of the variety of stuff that can happen. But it is very easy because it is a campaign award entry or whatever that ये सब कुछ MarTech AdTech है. So some of it are strictly not MarTech AdTech because data transformation, essentially distribution transformation, is also part of the supply chain or ops management. So ops tech, if I were to put it, is the larger ecosystem over here. So it is very important for us to know when is technology enabling marketing automation or marketing transformation, and when is technology advertising transformation, and when is technology impacting other parts of the business. So we should also be very, very clear about those kind of elements. Yeah, so let's move on to the next example quickly. I think from the kind of responses I'm gathering and what you guys are sharing with me, it seems that you're catching on to the spectrum of use cases that I'm demonstrating to you. So again, the understand here, guys, is that the starting case is always the insight and the use case that we're trying to build. Then we try to identify which is the platform or how do you basically structure those conversations. And I know, and I'm again doing a check-in with all of you guys. I know maybe a couple of you are extremely participative. You have what do you say, knowledge of a lot of these components. So I'm very, very thankful for that. But for the larger group of 44 guys who are out there, please feel free to, maybe stop us if you think it is going too fast or you want to know some more information. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't feel that, oh, मैं सवाल पूछेगा तो is it irrelevant or whatever. Please stop. If you understand these use cases today, then the next sessions will be, okay, I will not say it will be easy, but slightly more straightforward. So if you are able to understand today, then you will be able to apply this knowledge to what we are doing in the future sessions. That will be very, very useful for you guys. Yeah. Okay. So let me just quickly open up the next use case. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, this is my personal favorite. I'm going to just play this.
On Super Bowl Sunday, the US is big, loud, and expensive. Sweden is Swedish. So how does Volvo compete with the other car brands and their millions spent on commercials during the game? We don't. We steal it.
When you see a car commercial during the game, any car commercial, not Volvo, you can tweet using the hashtag Volvo contest.
The interception was simple. Their commercials would give you a chance to win one of our cars for someone you love. Just tweet their name to Volvo during any car commercial. When Mercedes wanted you to look here, people immediately went here. When Lexus spent 4.5 million for this, Twitter looked like this. Shifting the social conversation to Volvo. With up to 2,000 tweets per minute every time their commercials aired, we changed the Super Bowl conversation from one loud 30-second roar to an ongoing conversation about Volvo that lasted the entire game. We were the only car company to trend both nationally and globally.
So they weren't advertising on TV, they were letting all the other car companies do that for them.
And just like that, their millions of dollars worth of car commercials turned into a social conversation about Volvo, helping our XC60 to a 70% sales increase the month following the game, the highest in its segment.
Okay. So, yeah, I would like to hear from you guys about this campaign. First of all, how cool is this campaign? And second, how cool is this campaign? And third,
Very cool, very cool.
and now, yeah, third, so
No, I'm only worried about how would they attribute the 70% sales to the conversation because any cat C, cat B, even not their, the TG would be tweeting it. It could be anyone. It could be college guys. Not everyone would be ending up buying a Volvo XC60. But of course, from the conversation, if any campaign project manager had, conversations as a metric, he would have got the promotion for sure.
Yeah, so this is what we call the realm of, in the absence of any direct attribution, because we just did this one campaign, any bump in
Yeah.
sales is attributed to that particular
Correct.
campaign. But we'll get into the attribution piece thoda later. I would like to hear from the larger team that what did you think about this campaign and how do you think they accomplish this? What kind of, I'm not saying, but do you think any MarTech or AdTech technologies were involved in the execution of this entire campaign?
Strategy.
There you're spilling the beans.
Sorry. I thought I was on mute.
No problem. Yeah, so I would say that yes, they did use a social listening to kind of monitor the piece, but unlike the Puma campaign that we saw earlier, I would argue this is just a very clever social media strategy. There is no technology enablement or anything. Yes, they use technology to monitor what happened, but it was just smart idea, creativity at the core of it. A very, very sharp concept to do guerrilla marketing. You guys must have heard this term guerrilla marketing a lot. If you have not, then even in India, a lot of people keep doing guerrilla marketing, especially your Zeptos, Zomatos of the world. Outdoor, correct. And they go viral. So it's a very sharp guerrilla marketing concept. And the point of this idea was to say that इसमें तो टेक्नोलॉजी का कुछ काम ही नहीं था. There is no use case of any technology or any advertising or marketing transformation, but it is just clever strategy and tactics. So we should also be very, very cognizant of the fact that as it is not necessary that we have to use some sort of a platform to achieve some sort of a very brilliant idea. Some ideas can be very strategic. The idea is that what are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to get sense of, it's obviously knowing your brand. It's about understanding what kind of campaigns would resonate with your audiences. Then we basically try to figure out if you want to plug or play any of the concepts that are out there. Yes, I can hear Summer. Your hand is, I can see your hand is up. Sorry.
Yeah. So actually, I have two questions. So first of all, what is the platform they choose to communicate this whole idea to the target audience? And second question is how they expect that why they expect that target audience also do the same thing what they want to achieve, because what is the benefit of the target audience? If I tweet Volvo's hashtag in the Twitter, what I get
You get a
against
car. They're given the incentive that the people, if you put some good content, you can get the chance to win the car.
okay, okay. So I missed that.
No problem. No problem. So yeah, exactly. So it is a very simple. So it's like one of those contests that happen like, oh, why don't you tweet with the hashtag Starbucks and you will get 2 coffees free. It is as simple as that. But because they use the guerrilla marketing idea of saying that do this whenever you see a competitor car ad in Super Bowl, that made
Exactly.
this contest very, very clever. Actually, it's a very simple concept. You tweet for me and मैं आपको कार दे दूंगा. It's a incentive. It's a very straightforward concept. But the condition in which you will get the chance to win it, which is that Super Bowl, where is there? And the through the if I were to put that equivalent, IPL, like people pump in 100 crores in IPL. Now imagine a competitor brand says that okay, when the other people are pumping 100 crores, you just tweet for me and I'll give you away a car for free, and all that money is there. So competitors spend 1,000 crores on IPL, all the Toyotas and everybody, and यहाँ पे maybe whatever a Mahindra or someone who has done this campaign is getting all that awareness and mention for free. So that's what the idea is. But I think the takeaway that I want to do is, of course, in summer we can obviously dissect those campaigns further, but the takeaway that I want to do is that there is plain vanilla ingenuity in or creativity in the campaigns. There are campaigns which are mass personalization, mass scale, where they use technology enablement. We need to understand that these two are different. So application of MarTech and AdTech comes after the campaign concept is cracked and after we basically identify what are the outcomes that we are trying to accomplish, whether it is top of the mind measures. And again, I'm not getting into marketing 101 here because I think the assumption is you guys may need to have a little bit of background on it, because I have to focus on the technology part of it and how did that enablement come. But if you don't know what are the measures that are there for marketing, whether it is the what you call as the top of the funnel, mid of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, I think then grasping these concepts comes a little difficult. So if I were to say in the life cycle of a campaign execution, your campaign brief, insight, and your strategy comes before anything else. Then comes your the need for any automated technology or automation, and then further from there you can take it further. Now, strictly speaking, unfortunately, the we have a lot of snake oil salesmen in our industry as well, who try to basically paint martech and adtech as like the be all, like yeah, if you purchase from us then the world will change for you. So that there's a lot of mis-selling also that happens. So what I'm trying to get at is that we need to be very, very cognizant and very, very definitive about what we are trying to accomplish. Why will a particular platform, basically you have to evaluate a platform whether it fulfills the use case best that you're trying to accomplish, and therefore you then identify that. Now when I get into the brass tacks of the platforms, you will notice that even an email automation platform is technically called as martech. There is no clear industry consensus on where does basic automation end and where does martech start and all of that. We'll come to that in a minute. But I'm just giving you a little bit of upline, so it becomes very difficult to kind of understand. We'll talk about the complexities. We'll get there. So just stay with me. I think I have one more last use case for you. No, I actually have two more use cases for you. Three more use cases for you. So I think we'll just get into that. Sorry, I just forgot about that. I'm going to present my screen again. Again, I'm going into all of this because it's simple. Now, this is a very straightforward use case. I'm just going to play this. Not spending too much time on this, but I think again, very, very smart guerrilla tactic ads in the same line of how Volvo did, and Burger King and Wendy's do, and McDonald's do a lot of this. You will, for those who love the world of advertising, please do follow all these guerrilla campaigns that Burger King keeps doing. Yeah, this is another pretty cool, what you call as a omni-channel kind of a concept. I'm going to play this. And you tell me whether, and then when we'll kind of dissect and discuss this.
Shoe stores may need to rethink how they release the new Air Jordan
fights
sneakers.
this weekend over sneakers.
Police had lots of manpower on hand to control the crowds.
If you're watching these pictures, this is all over shoes.
Somewhere along the way, streetwear product drops became unpleasant. With limited store locations, bottlenecks formed, resale prices soared, and shoe lovers got lost in the shuffle. For the launch of the exclusive Adidas Camo collection, Champ Sports and Adidas Originals wanted to ensure their product went to real fans, not shoe resellers. So we reframed the drop, replacing the static queue with a journey built just for them. Across the country, WebAR-enabled wild postings transform city street corners into hidden drop zones. No app download required. Fans who found the posters could skip the line and go straight to checkout. To make it even more difficult for shoe resellers, streetwear influencers were given custom stickers to create their own hidden drop sites.
So my next location, I'm out here in Fishtown on Allen Street at one of my favorite music venues.
Influencers shared their sticker locations on Instagram, so only true fans who followed along could find them. And in every city, shoe lovers hit the streets to explore.
Literally gonna be on one of these poles, so.
By eliminating lines and outsmarting resellers, hidden in plain sight rewrote the rules of the product drop, creating high engagement with fans that increased site visits, grew subscriptions, and sent sales through the roof. But most importantly, our hidden drop zones ensured that real fans got to own the shoes they love.
All right. Okay. Now, this one, I definitely want to hear you guys. What do you guys think?
Well, it can't happen in India. It will be termed as vandalism. And
That's true.
but definitely, I think it's just to create buzz around this for the Gen Zs, and as the name is camouflage, it was just to kind of show hidden in plain sight, and that's what they used using the influencers. Otherwise, all the shoe lovers, typically someone who's a sneakerhead would go onto the website and be there and just pick up and buy the shoe as soon as it's dropped. That's what happens with Nike, almost all the drops. But this one, as I said earlier, I think they used a very clever mix of influencers, put them onto the tag and gave them geolocations for their followers also, and to the sneakerheads. Even someone who was not a sneakerhead kind of became interested in what the shoe is all about, whether it's good or not, but they would have ended up kind of searching for it.
Sure.
It's also a mix of online and offline.
Yes, that's the main thing. Yes. Sorry, who's that? I can't see.
Payal. My name's Payal.
Hey, hi, Payal. Yes. So, quick question. Do you feel any MarTech or AdTech technologies were used? Do you think those scanning devices would be falling under the domain of MarTech, AdTech? Or in India, we know the equivalent is QR codes and stuff. What do you guys think? Do you think that if you implement a QR code and use it, it falls under the domain of MarTech or AdTech?
That would be more MarTech, wouldn't it?
I don't know. We can have a consensus once we all share our perspectives, perhaps. But thank you, Cliff. Yeah. What do the others think? Yeah. So there's been a debate. I think QR code is a universal technology. Its application for a marketing use case like this, where you're getting consumers to come online and visit the website through this innovative gamification strategy. So what this entire campaign was is a gamification strategy, right? That is what was done. So that there is a blurred lines between whether it is there or not, but I think the way it works is that because you use unique QR codes and then you do the sneaker drops, you're able to then attribute that this campaign location resulted in something. So it's a very gray area. And this is exactly like, getting into the concept of whether this is technology enabled, it is not technology enabled, what is happening over there. Okay. Let's quickly get into the next two final case studies.
Shoe stores.
Okay, this one is from China.
现如今每个月都有超过51款新车型进入市场。在发布最新的首款小型 SUV E-Pace 之前，捷豹品牌面临着严峻的市场竞争。为了取胜，我们需要一个全通路模式，将极致速度与智能行动结合在一起。个性化市场营销结合动态创意，绩效优化与结果分析实时可得。我们需要一个作战室。通过消费者旅途分析，我们发现62%的购买者在购买过程中会受到来自他们家人和朋友的影响。我们需要影响的不仅仅是购买者本人，更是那些关键的决策者。我们在12大类关键的受众族群中，发现我们的目标人群是富有的都市年轻驾驶一族，尤其是女性驾驶者。我们通过使用百度大数据以及人工智能技术，邀请台湾知名艺人阮经天作为最具影响力和匹配度的代表为其发声，将财务和旅行方面的兴趣标签作为更相关的集中曝光人群，帮助我们更好地确定目标受众，以及让我们更好地根据实时绩效优化。依靠百度强大的 AI 能力，我们利用102种不同画面加文案组合的物料，并进行实时优化。同时，根据百度对消费者所在地、兴趣点和消费行为的实时判定，展现个性化的落地页，让捷豹能够精准地在正确的时间、正确的地点，为潜在的消费者提供正确的信息。我们的成果策略成功吸引了目标消费者的注意力，市价搜索上升83%，主要竞争者凯迪拉克 XT4 潜在消费者与 E-Pace 的互动率上升了63%，考虑购买的人数急剧上升了127%，有效市价搜索在百度全域营销超出目标27%，极致速度与智能行动为捷豹成功助力。
So, yes, technically, this also seems like an extension of the Mondelez hyper-personalization ad, the ad, basically the Heineken. But the fundamental difference over here is that the personalization was extended to the landing pages, and therefore this is a hyper-personalization case study for performance marketing. So idea is that this kind of engine was not that just at an awareness or social media scale. Like the Heineken campaign was a very beautiful campaign, but it was more about convincing people ke, chal daru pite types. Like, that was the kind of concept. Again, the first one, Shah Rukh Khan, was just a general awareness campaign, but done in a slightly smarter way. But this, by linking the preferences of the audiences as well as the communication right up to the test drive journey, you are able to actually measure the uplift in test drives, and from the test drives obviously to the final conversion through this particular campaign. So this is not an indirect attribution of the MarTech platform, but the end-to-end attribution, if I were to say, so as to speak, for the particular campaign. Any questions on this one? I think this was my last case study before we go to the next topic, but any questions on this before we probably move to the next section?
What would be the time frame that they would have taken to analyze the interest and then create these landing pages? I'm sure this would not have been done in a very short period of time. And understanding, because what I read was that they were looking at certain cities from where the interests were coming, and based on that profile, it was not generally one person, but like a like a summary of the group's interest in that particular city. And I'm sure they would have done a bit of a mix and match here and there, but how much of it was really, really different within 2 or 3 microsites?
So it was different, and that's a reason I curated this, because I know the people who executed this campaign in China. They are part of my extended company as well. So what was different is that this was timed around the launch of the Jaguar E-Pace car, and this was a 30-day campaign with a plus 15-day pre-launch campaign added to it. So this was a 45-day campaign that they had to create. And therefore, when you saw that concept of the war room, Anmol, I think that is how this was different. Like when we talk about MarTech technologies, we think of some application on the cloud, or we talk about hyper personalization, we think of some application in the cloud. We think of, the agency sitting separately. We think the client is sitting separately, and there's some campaign that is going on, which is, by the way, to some extent true with all the other campaigns that were out there. In this particular case, it was a war room created that you saw in the scene. This was built out of the Jaguar client's office in China. The specific, I don't know which city it is, but it was there. And there, our team members actually were sitting out of their office with live data feeds from Baidu and Ali and a couple of other engines and social media. So basically, it was a 360-degree war room, and the decisions were taken in real time, if I were to put it. Of course, I do understand that deployment would take time, so I'm not sure on the turnaround time for that. But assuming, because I know that the entire campaign was about 45 to 50 days, if I'm not wrong, I think the decisions would be having a lead time of 3 to 4 days on any of the personalizations or
The
stuff.
initial 15 days was just setting up the processes and APIs in these platforms, or was it they did something like a survey with few of the
I don't know the
leads or something like that?
specifics. Yeah, I don't know the specifics, but if you count the setup, then it is T minus 30, 15-day setup, 15-day pre-campaign, and then 30-day immediately after the launch to hit the target sales that were laid in for E-Pace.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, guys. So I think at this juncture, we will take a quick break for 10 minutes, come back at around 8:30. Feel free to use it as a bio break or whatever. Drink water. If you guys have not drunk water, it's quite late in the evening. When we come back, what we'll do is we'll do a little bit dial back into the history of advertising. We'll talk about now laying the context of the relevance of the MarTech technologies, the spectrum that is out there, and laying the groundwork for our session that we will do next week. What I would, but before we go, just quickly summarizing, we showed about 8 or 9 or 7 or 8 use cases. What I wanted you to first again reinforce again and again. In the industry, people try to talk about MarTech, AI, Gen AI, AdTech as some sort of shiny object that can do magic and do stuff, but that is not true at all. Level 1 is knowing your consumer and the core insight that you have, or not level 1, step 1. Step 2 is building the larger strategic approach of what are you trying to accomplish, what KPIs you're trying to move, what outcomes are you trying to achieve. Third one is plugging in basically the relevant data sources as well as the relevant data platforms which constitute as MarTech or AdTech. Some of these concepts may not even be MarTech, but just a technology platform. We don't know. It depends on the strategy that you built. Fourth one is where AI is coming in and transforming these MarTech platforms themselves. So, for example, a CDP or a customer data platform is considered to be a MarTech platform. AI enabled assistant or an agentic AI on a CDP is basically a transformative data platform. So today, what people are doing, it is people who have already implemented a CDP with all data sources. Implementation of a CDP itself is a nightmare. It is, most of the brands don't get it right. Data flows and data pipes are absolutely poor and things are problematic. So then on top of it, implementing machine learning algorithms, audience profiling, whether you want to do whatever, all of these technology assisted pieces, which specifically are driven through AI, becomes a even more troubling piece. So it's only the mature brands and if I may call it, I will not just call it advertisers, but it's only the mature accounts that are now looking at how you're basically enabling AI on top of the mountain of data that they're already sitting in the tech infrastructure that we are seeing. Of course, someone like a Swiggy. Now, for example, but things don't have to be so complicated, but things don't have to be very simple as well. Now, let's take an example of something like a Swiggy. Now, a MarTech platform would be the customer data platform, which they built proprietary at the backend. This contains data of everybody who has installed a Swiggy app, your purchase history, your food preferences. The reason why this is important is because depending on the food orders that you've taken, so if you've ordered biryani in the past, then they will show you hotels which are going to give biryani more. They are using it to maybe change prices so as to what people say as dark patterns. All of this is enabled by the same MarTech technology platforms. And obviously, they have AI and ML sitting on top of all of this to do some smart data crunching and etc. etc. So if we look at Swiggy as a tech stack, which is essentially the pinnacle of this, Swiggy is a MarTech platform within itself. They don't own the restaurants. They are not a fintech platform. They are they are merged with something like a uh, uh, razor pay or whatever. So what are they essentially? They are a catalog for restaurants and food, but they are a marketing engine which is built on predicting what consumers are more likely to eat at what price point. So this is what you call as a pinnacle of a proprietary marketing technology platform. Once that foundation of all of that is laid, you can then utilize it for campaigns, you can utilize it for actually doing whatever stuff. So I would argue that this is basically the utility of these things. Ergo, with a lot of the something like an Uber, and Uber is does not own any of the cars that it is running. It's actually a technology platform that enables the supply and demand. Essentially, what is the demand of the consumer to travel at what, and therefore optimizing the different price points, the different drivers, etc. etc. So again, like I said, the concept can be very fluid depending on how you are looking at it. So obviously, if you ask Swiggy, are you a MarTech platform? They'll be like, Pagal hai kya? I have so much investing money. I am like a food tech engine. I'm a very whatever I'm there. But essentially, that is what we are. So why I'm giving you all this is because it is absolutely critical for us to understand what do we think we are trying to accomplish and what are the right platforms. We can either build a single unified platform for doing everything that we want. We can either import point solutions A, B, C, D to do accomplish different parts of the cycle. So martech and adtech is not a, if I may call it a single solution skill set. It is actually a multi-solution skill set. We need to understand, and typically martech practitioners and adtech practitioners, there are practitioners who are consultants who are deep, and there are deep, and there are practitioners who are wide. And what do you mean by that? Now let's talk about a martech platform or a CDP platform, which is typically called out like a Salesforce platform or a CRM platform, like a Salesforce. You must have heard all of this, an Adobe platform, any other kind of platforms. Now, there are people who have 15, 20 years experience only on Salesforce. They only live, breathe Salesforce. Now, you will also call this person a MarTech specialist. And there's a consultant who has never even implemented Salesforce, but understand the entire spectrum of the solution design. There are strategists who say, I am specializing in hyper personalization engines. I don't know what a CDP is. I don't understand how do you do data modeling. I only know how to create personalized experiences. So there are practitioners who are special in this particular line. And that is the, if I may call it, the largeness, the complexity of the ecosystem. We'll talk about that when we come back from the break. But I want you to also understand that there is no one person who's an expert at all. If anybody says मैं martech का भगवान है, then that person is just like I am telling you myself that because of a strategy and solution role that I have, my job is to identify some of the platforms, understand how its application happens for the use case that I'm trying to solve. But I personally also have not used like 80% of the martech platforms. My familiarity is with the top 4 5 platforms, which typically my client engages in, pays for, etc., etc. That is where me and the extended team kind of work. So I'm trying to set a little bit of ground rules in terms of the expectation you guys need to have. Some of you may have it from a career perspective. Some of you may have it from a application of for your own organization perspective. So it is a sort of a open kind of a ecosystem, if I may call it so as to speak. Not like digital marketing or something else where you say, oh, if you know Google and Meta and maybe 2 3 other platform, LinkedIn, you know 80% of digital marketing. So it's not like Martech and AdTech is much larger in scope. And how large, we'll just come to it when we come back from the break, which I think I've just consumed what I thought was the break time. So 8:30 we'll start the break right now. We'll connect back at around 8:45. And then the following session will be 8:45 to 9:45, which is the 1 hour session. Cool. All right, guys. See you
Okay.
in 10 minutes, 10 to 15
Sure.
minutes. Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, guys. I hope we've all returned from the break.
Yep.
Yes, we have.
Yes, sir.
If you guys have still not had water, please go have water. Hydrate yourself. Very important. We'll begin in 1 minute sharp.
So it would also be great to have some B2B case studies around AdTech and MarTech, which would give us a bit of perspective on both sides from B2B and B2C. So
Sure, Anmol. So, unfortunately, I don't have a B2B case study today, but what I'll do is I'll take this feedback and maybe in the next week's session, we'll try to see if we can touch upon maybe one or two case studies on the B2B side.
sure, thank you.
Okay. So we ready for the next part of the presentation? All right. So I think what we saw so far is how today with a lot of technology, a lot of data, the way we do advertising actually changes, right? But the idea is that I don't want you guys to be overwhelmed with, oh wow, what is this? How is this happening? The fundamentals of marketing and advertising kind of remain the same. So just to probably touch upon that, I just want to go do a small bit of nostalgia, go back into the history of advertising. So again, I'm going to play this quick video. It's probably a minute and a half long, not which will give you a broad understanding of how advertising has evolved.
And now, the history of advertising in 60 seconds. Advertising is as old as the human condition, but branded, product-based ads didn't show up until the 18th century when print advertising became the norm. In the 1800s, we got the first billboards and ad agencies began to set up shop. In 1891, companies like Kodak began selling their brand, not just their product. Then, in 1908, new companies like Ford staged flashy publicity events and pioneered the art of looking cool. The soap opera was born when soap companies discovered the popularity of radio dramas among women when they did their housework.
By the makers of Lux toilet soap.
Bulova watches made the first television commercial. It cost $9. And when psychologists got involved in the 1960s, focus groups transformed the industry into a calculated science. The tactics got a lot less predictable, and the budgets got a lot bigger. Enter the internet. Even though it looked like this and sounded like, advertisers were eager to engage the growing network of more than 5 million users. By the year 2000, ads were appearing alongside search results, driven by consumer interests. Now, advertising is just part of the conversation. For the first time in history, consumers are able to choose the ads they see based on their own taste. And brands are working with publishers to create content. It's a whole new world. Welcome to modern advertising.
Yeah. There's a small trivia. I think I'll just play this video for quick viewing and then we'll just talk about it.
America runs on Bulova time.
That's it. That was the first television ad ever to have aired for just $9. Now, let's compare $9 to today's exorbitant costs that go in TV advertising, but that's what it is. So anyhow, I know that was a rushed video, but the idea is that I don't want to give you on the basics, but marketing and advertising are, I think, two sides of the same coin. And for the largest time, it is about talking to the consumer of your brand or your product, right? Very, very simply, advertising and marketing are describes the how, what, where, when of how do you talk to your consumer. That is a one-line definition of advertising. With obviously the advent of digital marketing and digital devices, this got a huge boost because now you were able to not just broadcast, like you used to do when you do on a print ad, or you do a billboard ad or a TV ad, because these are devices are not what you call as precise. They are broadcasted. They are actually casted across a wide net, which is across the length and breadth of the anybody who is viewing that content. So when digital marketing came, internet came in, and obviously we saw those interesting ads. What changed from a broadcast era to what we call as a precision era? And in the precision era, the idea was that now from a one is to many communication model, marketing and advertising transformed into a one is to say a few model. And today, basically, hyper personalization is where we are going into a one is to one model. Now, there are different ways of talking to the audiences. And any marketing and advertising has two components. One is the communication or the creative, and one is the platform or the audiences, right? So these two components form the bulk of any marketing and advertising activity. Now, when we talk about uh, precision audiences, especially on digital, we are talking about essentially anything from, say, an SMS is a channel or a media to basically carry that communication from, say, the brand or the advertiser to a individual. Now, while SMS is an example of a communication or a format or a media which is personal, which means it comes to one person, but currently we do not have the technologies to do one is to one for okay, currently we have it, but the idea was that SMS was still broadcasted. What do you mean by that? There was a selection of, say, 10,000 consumers, and everybody was fired with the same SMS message that was out there. So what is technology enabling is what you call as hyper personalization. You are able to create a compelling communication for each individual rather than basically doing that. Now, whether you do it through email, SMS, uh, paid media like advertising on Google, Meta, the media and the format has changed, but the core concept has remained the same. Now, when you use technologies that work with paid media, such as Google, such as Facebook advertising, those set of technologies are typically called as ad technologies or ad tech platforms. And when we engage with platforms, we typically engage non-paid media such as email, SMS. Today, for example, whenever you go get those automated messages on WhatsApp, it's typically called as a MarTech platform, right? That is like the broad definition of these two. But even that is collapsing right now with a larger unification in place. So every kind of platform does everything, and the distribution of platforms is no longer kind of what you say built on the hinges of what you say whether it's a martech platform or an adtech platform. It's a communication tech platform, and everything it does everything under the sun. So we'll come to that in a minute. Oh yeah, sorry. This is also the first ever banner ad that was there on AT&T's of AT&T that was happening on Wired magazine. Yeah. So remember I told you that it is the same two sides of the coin. It's actually about communication, and then it is about the means of communication from one is to many to one is to one. How many people know who this gentleman is who I'm presenting right now on your screen? It's a very, very, very famous personality. Anyone wants to address that?
David Ogilvy.
Yeah, correct. That's correct. So this man is pretty much considered to be the father of advertising. Now, why is this guy considered to be a father of advertising? Because he crafted communication for the broadcasting era, for print. And to even today, most people believe that communication actually trumps your media and your channel selection format. So, for example, his most famous ad is this ad on print media where he's penned down the line at 60 miles an hour. The loudest noise in the new Rolls Royce comes from electric shock.
Clock.
Correct. Sorry, electric clock. Yeah. Sorry about that. Now, we all know that analog clocks are the only clocks that make noise. So electric clocks don't make noise. So view of exaggeration, very crafting communication line is what is there. Now, why am I again giving you all of this? Because we need to remember that when we are talking to the consumer through any form of marketing or advertising, it's the communication that comes first. Anybody can identify a hyper personalization platform which can do the Shah Rukh Khan ad.
Zomato.
Any or Zomato, whoever, exactly. The technology platform for doing that 1:1 personalization, there are a lot of such platforms available. We'll show that landscape. But what should that actual communication framework be? Why should Mondelez give a call to action saying that all of you guys basically shop with your local advertiser? Or when we talked about Puma, or when we talked about the, sorry, not Puma, the Heineken example, the idea that we want to personalize the communication by time of the day. It's lunchtime. Why don't you go to the nearest pub, which is this pub, and you basically drink, have some alcohol? That the platform will not give. Currently, no tech platform essentially tells you what to tell the consumer. Earlier, it was easy because you had a audience persona in mind, and you just created one common communication, like how David Ogilvy did for these iconic lines. The argument here is that in today's world where hyper personalization is possible, do creative icons like David Ogilvy and his communication approach actually still work, which is why we are talking about this. Today, when we're talking about hyper communication, it's still about talking about at 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in the new Rolls Royce comes from the electric clock. But today, personalizing it to different types of audiences, personalizing it to different types of context. So that is what we need to build as form of our strategy, our creative comms approach, and then we basically understand how do we plug in the market. Like when we talk about communicating this same idea through an SMS, you pay on SMS on basis the length of the sentence that is there. Now, what if say this entire sentence at 60 miles an hour does not fit into one SMS? Would you still pay for two SMSs? Or would you convert into rich media, or would you change this line, this iconic line, to do something else? Now, the problem is that most people ignore this part of the entire strat, the marketing or advertising strat, only focus on the fact that, oh, you can take this technology platform and you can replicate, say, for example, what Mondelez did with this. The first and foremost step is to actually figure out what the, if I were to put it broadly, comms strategy is, and then you can identify the relevant technology platform that can hyper personalize that. So this is where all your big advertising agencies come in. I'm part of Dentsu, which is headquartered in Dentsu, but in Tokyo. Publicis is considered to be the top agency group. Omnicom and IPG is recently gone through a merger, and they are going to be considered to be the biggest advertising holdco in the world. So typically, all these iconic campaigns were in the domain of all of these large holdco agencies. But what MarTech and AdTech platforms have done is by adding technology to it, they have democratized it. So you no longer need a David Ogilvy to basically come up with that iconic line. So what is generative AI, for example, doing? It is saying that anybody, first it was the democratization, look at the layers of democratization. The first is that these highest form of these biggest agencies with the highly paid creative directors, etc., were coming up with all of this. Step two, MarTech and AdTech platforms, which transformed it and said that, okay, now you don't need to pay maybe an exorbitant amount to engage these big agencies. Even a small business owner can essentially come, engage with a MarTech platform, create some basic hygiene communication and distribute it. And today AI is supercharging it, saying that I can essentially, even a retail consumer, anybody with just 25,000 rupees in his pocket can essentially start doing all this. So this is the progression of technology and its enablement that is happening in the world. Again, why is all of this important? Because then you understand what role you need to play as an individual, as a consumer in this entire place. Now, before we go to the next part on the ecosystem, I'm going to take a small deviation over here, and I'm going to walk you through what we call as the Dentsu advertising state of advertising report, which is basically giving you a glimpse into how advertising as a industry is there in India currently. It's a free report. It's in the public domain. We launched it somewhere around February. Anybody can download it, but I'm just going to walk you through some of the key pointers that I thought would be interesting for you guys. So let me know once you can see the report. It's a PDF file. Is it open? Is it visible, guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So this is a longish report. I'm not going to take you through each and every. Okay, once again. Give me a second, please. So I'm not going to take you through each and every page through that report, but I just want to basically show you that. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, for some, give me 1 second, guys. For some reason, I'm not able to move the pages. Yeah. Okay. Are you able to see my screen? It looks like an eye with like some AI graphics. Sorry, can somebody please confirm this? Are you able to see my
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great. I'm going to skip through all of this. When you guys see this, you can see. So first thing in understanding, right? The advertising industry in India is a big business, 1 lakh crores plus in 2024. It has grown significantly and it's expected to grow at about 7% CAGR in the next 2 to 3 years, out of which digital forms 50%, which means we have become a digital forward nation. So when we talk about advertising and marketing, etc., the indicator of a very evolved tech savvy market is when the digital advertising agency has a lion's share or a the largest share of the entire advertising corpus. So right now you can see we are at a break point which is 50-50. In this year we are predicted to just overtake the other channels by like 5%, and digital is growing at 19%, which means that it is going to pretty much overtake that industry. Again, these are top broad strokes of advertising. This is general knowledge, but it is an important form of knowledge that you guys need to know. So I'm going to move through some of this. Now, just to go into specifics, digital is 49,000, television is 28,000, print is 17,000, OH is 4 to 5, 6,000. So if you see the broadcast media that, so as to speak, which is television and print, are typically degrowing right now because they are not growing as fast as digital platforms. Outdoor is, while it is also broadcast medium, but you are able to personalize it to a city or to a particular location. So therefore there is some amount of personalization that is available. So it falls in the middle of it. So outdoor, cinema, radio, these are like, in the middle of broadcast as well as digital platforms. But digital platforms is having the lion's share among all the channels and is growing significantly. And this is why MarTech and AdTech platforms are also transforming significantly. I'm going to move through all of this, and I'm going to go through the digital advertising industry. So we'll spend some time on this. So first and foremost, digital has seen a phenomenal growth in the last decade, from over like about 6,000 crores to about 69, a 10x growth in the last 10 years. Now within digital, however, social media has a lion's share. So Meta and other platforms are 29%. Online video is a combination of YouTube plus OTT platforms. So your GeoStar and all of those guys, 28%. Display, which is your programmatic platform, etc., classified platforms, 3%. And then paid search is about 23%. So your performance marketing is about 11,000 crores at 23%. Video is growing significantly, and therefore you can see why hyper personalization and MarTech and AdTech platforms are trying to gun it. Everybody says that you're spending so much, I would like to basically implement my platform and supercharge it. That is exactly what is happening in the market right now. Okay, this is all forecast. I'm going to go ahead. Yeah. Now, A new entrant in the block is what you call as e-retail platforms. This is nothing but Amazon, Flipkart, Zepto. So a lot of you guys have heard about these platforms launching advertising spends. Now, 22% of these spends are essentially coming on retail platforms, and they're coming as a close competitor to your Google Meta. And they're growing, the spends on that is growing faster than Google Meta at 23%. So there is an entire MarTech practice around technology platforms that help you manage your Amazon campaigns better, Flipkart campaigns better, Blinkit campaigns better. But this is a small subset of a platform that, as we so as to speak. In fact, one of the AdTech platforms is what Flipkart and Amazon have themselves launched. So they have launched something called as a demand side platform, Amazon DSP. Amazon DSP is nothing but a AdTech platform that they have launched so that you can advertise basis the audiences that Amazons have on Amazon website plus outside Amazon website. So
They have their own search rankings also.
yes, I mean they are there. I'm just trying to introduce the concept that these are the players who are investing in building AdTech platforms, MarTech platforms, and there are specialists who are only Amazon AdTech specialists. There are people who are cross different platform specialists. So depending on where you are, how you are, different types of opportunities comes across. A little bit breakdown by sector, who is the largest spender. So digital media, obviously the largest sector is FMCG, followed by e-commerce and consumer durables. There is pharmaceutical, which does the next, and then is a breakdown between auto, telecom, BFSI, and all the other sectors that are out there. Yeah, I think this was it. Yeah, MIQ is one of the programmatic platforms that I was talking about. It's what you call as a demand side platform, DSP, but also acts like a supply side platform. So all of these ad tech platforms I'm going to be talking about in the next session. So that is what it is, right? So this is there. There's a lot of piece that is out there. Yeah, retail media, I talked about this. I'm going to probably, yeah. Oh, yeah. So we have a unique partnership with PhonePe. Now, my next document that I'm going to show you, and why am I showing you? Because all of these are outcomes of these so-called MarTech and AdTech platforms. Just one second. So we worked with PhonePe, who launched their own, if I may call it, sort of a MarTech platform to cull out data on the audience profiling, right? So I'm just going to share this for a minute. I'm just trying to give you a diversity of spectrum. So we partnered with PhonePe, and PhonePe, what it did is basis the UPI audiences that they are. So I don't know if you guys know, PhonePe also has become a ad tech platform because they have introduced an ads platform which they call as PhonePe ads. So after you do the transaction on PhonePe, you see those banners that come in that okay, put on this scratch card and you will get a certain amount. This is not done manually. It is actually done through an automation system which is called the PhonePe ads platform, which they have developed, and they allow you to do a lot of features like targeting the consumer, etc., etc. So now somebody like PhonePe also is getting into ad tech business. Now this is a study that we authored with them, where we talked about using the data of PhonePe to identify the different kind of audience personalities. So say for example on PhonePe, they did a profiling exercise on the generation Z consumer. They showed three shopper personas: the Sunny, Sia, and Ritz. And for each of these personas, they gave the attributes of what these consumers are. So, for example, Sia is a young socialite, and this person has a higher spending on ornaments and jewelry. Now, why is this important? Now, imagine personalization at a persona level. So, you go to PhonePe and say, I want to target Sia on your platform because I am a jewelry brand or I'm an apparel brand, I'm Mintra, whatever, and I want to target her, and I want to go to her with a communication saying that if you do transactions of 5,000 rupees or more on PhonePe in a given month or UPI on a given month, then I want to target you with an ad for, say, being Mintra. Now, all of this is technology focused because it is based on the PhonePe core UPI transaction behavior data. And then you use that data to give very, very targeted brands to target someone like a Sia. Now, this is the platform of what you call as an AdTech platform or a MarTech platform. Similarly, we have what you call as personas for Sunny, Ritz. Then we have Gen Y consumers, older consumers slightly. Then we are talking about like whatever, Karthik, Tenzing, Zoya. Now, these are just illustrative models, but obviously when you work and sit with PhonePe, there are so many other audience personas that can be created. So here is your Mrs. Chatterjee, older audiences, what does she do? Fernandez uncle, Shalini Didi, etc. etc. Yeah. So we kind of built this entire thing. The idea of not deep diving into this, guys, is that I want to show you the possibilities. So everything from audience profiling to communication strategy, everything becomes covered as part of the use cases of MarTech when you break it down into brass tracks. I'm going to go back to the presentation to talk about the MarTech ecosystem. Oh, okay. I can see someone's hand is raised. Sorry, I couldn't see it earlier because my screen was being shared. Does
Yeah,
anyone?
hi. Yes. So I have a question. So the amount you mentioned of 50,000 crore, which is the digital ad spends across the entire ecosystem, is it pure ad spends or is it a mixture of
No,
services?
it's an industry number. So because Dentsu controls a certain market share, it's all proprietary information. We have understanding of what is the overall market looking like. So this is a best case estimate. All the big holdcos like Group M, Dentsu, Madison, all of them put out these reports. Uh,
Okay.
this year, the data that we put along with Madison is very, very close to each other, which is why we know this is closer to the industry estimate. Group M has done a much more aggressive estimate.
Yeah, there are about 70,000.
That
So,
is correct.
but this is not ad spends, right? Like the money you pay to Facebook or
Yes,
Hotstar or anything.
yes, it
It's
is.
that. Okay, understood. Okay, okay.
Pure play advertising. So you pay to any publisher in India, whether it is Google, Meta, Amazon, Flipkart, Hotstar, Times of India, Hindustan Times, everything is aggregated, estimated. We have our sources, we work with the publisher partners, we use all of that to create estimates on the industry and the growth that is going.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Correct.
Professor Nirmal, if you would be able to share this report in the chat because on your website we're not able to download it.
Yeah, even the other report, it's pretty cool. The Gen Z one.
Sure. So all of that have links. You have to just put your name and number. But
Yeah, we did
just
it, but
because,
it's not downloading.
just because I'm feeling very grateful, I'm going to circulate it with you guys. Yeah, I will do that. Yeah, don't worry. I'll share it in the chat. In fact, what we do is everything that I show typically, I even the main PPT and the videos, etc. Of course, the videos are heavy, so it'll be like a Google Drive link or order. After the session, we send an email circulating all the material. So don't worry about that. That's what we do. But again, just to take a pause over here a little bit, the idea that I was trying to set to you is that technology follows the money. If people are spending 50,000 crores divided by whatever, 5,000, 8,000 advertisers in the country, there are going to be always hundreds of platforms that are keep coming up saying that I'm solving one part of your marketing or advertising, function ecosystem, and you will continuously have different pieces. There are these top 10, 15 platforms that are out there, which we typically focus our energies on because, and we understand the framework, and then basically we use that to kind of apply our experience across all the particular platforms. Now, I'll come back to the presentation quickly because we just have half an hour. So let's talk about the ecosystem today. Can you see this weird stuff? This kind of island, kind of it looks like it's a map. It is actually a map of the MarTech and the AdTech ecosystem broken down by logos. So if you see on the left, this is, by the way, data from 2020. There are more than 8,000 different platforms that are there in existence, out of which 900 of those platforms are transforming advertising. More than 2,000 platforms are content and experience. Remember when we talked about Shah Rukh Khan? Remember when we talked about all the mass content personalization? Most of the MarTech AdTech platforms is about content and experience creation. Social and relationships. Now, will come to the social commerce piece. So, influencer marketing transformation platforms, shoppable influence commerce platforms, all of that comes in social and relationships. So, social listening platforms. There are about 2,000 platforms that do that. So, for example, There are platforms in the US, in India, we don't have that rich data, which are able to identify users on social media, overlay that data with census data, income level data, and can give you data points saying that this social media user is likely to be in this income bracket. There are all sorts of platforms that are available that can give you either more better insights, it help you do better activations, but everything essentially falls under these 6 or 7 buckets. Commerce and sales, so end-to-end commerce management. You know Shopify, most of you have heard it. A lot of us think Shopify is just a website platform. It used to be a website platform. Today it is integrated with all of the analytics platforms, all of the new Google Meta, whatever features that are out there. It's a one-shop MarTech platform to launch and distribute your products. So commerce and sales transformation platforms also form a part of the MarTech and AdTech ecosystem. Data platforms, managing your consumer data, managing your business data, all of that comes in that. You can see about 1258. And then finally, we're talking about management platforms. Now, I have deliberately kept this screen very whatever because I want to show you why the concept that we are trying to get into is so complicated. But because of common industry knowledge, there are like top 8-10 platforms that keep emerging. Now, 8,000 platforms was the story of 2020, which is what is the map that you saw over here. Today, it's more than doubled, about 15,000 platforms as per this this platform tracker called as MarTech map. Today, if you have to represent the same data, 15,000 platforms across the different channels, advertising, content, social and relationships, commerce, there are more than 15,000 platforms. And there's this website called as martechmap.com where you can basically search, sort, and filter so you get those platforms and you understand that. Now, you'll be like, okay, this is overwhelming. What do I do with this information? The starting point of this is to understand that MarTech and AdTech platforms solve a wide range of problems and use cases. First of all, there is no universal MarTech and AdTech platform. There is not one solution that solves everything. So depending on use case, like for example, if you want to buy advertising media on programmatic, then there's a different AdTech platform. If you want to bulk send WhatsApp messages, there's a different platform. If your business use case is that you have a commerce website or a commerce brand, and your loyalty program is bad or your LTV of your consumer is bad, and you want to create a platform which will nurture the audiences, send out emails, push notifications, tell them that there's a new offer on record, why don't you buy more from us? There's a different set of platforms. If you are a Swiggy or if you're a large enterprise and you have like data of 50 million customers, like say for example you're one of the stock breaking platforms like a Zerodha or Angel One, you'll have what you call as a customer data platform because you have to manage all the data for there. In fintech space, there will be regulatory and compliance platforms. So the spread of platforms is huge, and there is obviously a lot of starting point that needs to happen. So we don't want to be overwhelmed by this, but the idea that I'm going to teach you in the next week is what are the broad framework, like any MarTech platform for use case one or any AdTech platform for use case one will need to have these 6 or 7 features. As long as that platform supports those 6 or 7 features, we know for a fact that it can be done. Then it boils down to pricing and the specialism of those particular platforms. Yeah, so I think that is what I want to ingest. I want to probably do one last thing. So just like we talked about the PhonePe report as well as the advertising spend report, we have also launched what you call as a MarTech report, which is specifically to the use cases in India. I would like to spend a little time talking about this because I think this will be something which I think you guys will like a bit. Sorry, one second. Why is this? Yeah. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I'll just share this again. Okay. So This is a very good starting point for you. So first we have talked about the state of MarTech in India. Then we're talking about what are the emerging trends. Now, between these two chapters, you guys can have a good amount of understanding of where you need to go if you have to look at MarTech and AdTech as a as a start part. So let's talk about the state of MarTech in India. Now, the biggest okay, first of all, and just being out there, India is actually quite behind from its global peers when it comes to MarTech and AdTech adoption. We are quite laggards, if I may to put it that way. Why is that? Because of two reasons. One, till very recently, nobody knew where the budgets for MarTech and AdTech would come from. Would it stay with the marketing team? Would it stay with the technology team, the CMO, the CTO? Was it a separate budget under the CEO? Nobody knew about that, which is why investments in MarTech solutions were limited to very, very small solutions like CRM services, some basic data automation, etc., etc. So if I were to come back to my report, you see the first thing that is out here. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. Automation and CRM solutions. Very, very simple product that is out there. What are the next set of platforms that people invested in? Content and experience management systems, what you call as CMS. Now, technically, Shopify is a CMS. Technically, WordPress is a CMS. Technically, Salesforce Magento is a commerce CMS. So all of these are different types of content management systems which were there. And this technically also gave you personalized experiences when you came on the website. So a lot of specialization came into content management systems. Now, as the advertisers started becoming more and more savvy, they started investing in what you call as customer data platform, CDP. Now, CDP was a evolution of what you call as a CRM solutions. CRM solutions itself was an evolution of Excel sheets. So rather than having the phone number and email IDs of all the consumer on an Excel sheet, which could be deleted, destroyed, you had a formal solution like Salesforce or Zoho, which is very low cost consumer data management systems. But the problem with these systems are these were designed for only PII data. They were not designed for other types of data that is available online, like for example, your cookie level ID data, your app user data, SDK data. So your, if I may call it your advertising ID data. And therefore you basically started looking at a lot of customer data platforms. Then a lot of the advertising tech platforms came under what you call as the programmatic advertising platforms. So DV360 is the world's biggest programmatic advertising platform. And next week we'll be talking about that and I'll tell you why it is the biggest. But similar to that, there are a lot of programmatic advertising platforms, and understanding the programmatic advertising ecosystem is where we'll spend a lot of our piece. Conversational AI and chatbots. Today, you see that almost every website is integrating chatbots to kind of answer the questions. Now, the difference between Gen AI chatbots as well as the legacy chatbots is earlier chatbots were what you call as very simple technology or rule based. But Gen AI chatbots is actually backed by an LLM grounded in actual business data, which is why it can do a lot of sting, like even reasoning. If you see those old chatbots, agar aapne wo chatbot mein you put a query, like you asked questions which is not within the system, either it says, sorry, I cannot support this, or it will say, wait, I'm redirecting you to a human caller. That is what typically happens, right? So conversational AI and chatbots are also something which is part of the MarTech platform, influencer marketing platforms and e-commerce solutions. So India mein, this MarTech entire ecosystem is very, very premature, and it's just focused and concentrated on these 7 or 8 use particular cases. But what started happening is, one, to obviously AI came onto the scene. Second one is basically advertisers started getting more and more evolved, brands started getting more and more evolved, and therefore it became, and they started looking at a lot more evolution in terms of the kind of technologies that are out there. So when we talk about the growth of MarTech in India, it is focused on three major adoptions, say data advertising, data marketing, automation, and omni-channel marketing. Within that, SMBs are essentially the number one adopter of MarTech and advertising solutions. Now, why are they the number one adopters? Everybody is migrating to the cloud. So for example, they are trying to automate customer engagement. So integrating chatbots, eliminating call centers. Customer support is a cost center for most SMBs, right? Because customer support does not generate any revenue, but it is only troubleshooting. But if you can automate that entire thing, then essentially it will change. So this also came under the purview of what you call as martech automation. So automating customer engagement is something that is there. You must have heard of brands like Haptic by Reliance and a couple of other guys who are doing that. Data driven decision marketing. So all your analytical tools, Google Analytics, apps flyer. So a lot of measurement tools came under the martech ecosystem. Hyperlocal and personalized marketing. So you saw that a lot of these guys like Mo Engage, Web Engage, Clever Tap, all of these platforms started doing a lot of hyper personalization on the website. There were a lot of platforms that started doing influencer marketing where you no longer needed to basically find the manager of an influencer, go to that person, talk to that person, and run a campaign. You could directly go into a platform, look at the data stats, and engage those consumers. CRM and loyalty programs, I've talked about it. And again, with the evolution of performance marketing campaign, actually performance marketing uses a lot of cutting edge data and marketing and ad tech solutions over and above that. So today, if we were to talk about the roles of martech, we are talking about martech specialists, we are talking about growth marketeers, we are talking about AI and data driven marketing analysts, we are talking about customer experience manager, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think this was it. I think this is all about how AI is coming, a couple of case studies. I'm going to share this with you so that you can have a look at it. I think there should not be any further challenges. Yeah, I'll stop this at a minute and I'll come back to the presentation. So now what is happening is, from a general use case that we showed in the first couple of slides, we are now actually coming to specific technology platforms. And within those specific technology platforms, we are going to talk about what are the use cases that are out there. So as you can imagine, unfortunately or fortunately, a 6 session, a 3 day, if I may call it a program, cannot cover the length and breadth of it. So what I've done is, in next session or next Saturday, we will cover AdTech platforms and the principles of programmatic advertising. And the week after that, we will focus on MarTech platforms and the principles of marketing automation. I think I have one conclusion, if I may to put it, after putting all these sessions. Yeah, which is basically what is happening is that there's a democratization of the marketing technology. Earlier, if you were to come 6 or 7 years earlier, when you talked about CRM, when you talked about content management system, all these conversations were led by IT. It was led by the technology platform. It was heavily cost dependent because integrating a CRM within your operations, putting all of that, all fell under the purview of the CTO. Slowly and steadily, what happened was, as these platforms became self-serve, as these platforms became what you call as low code or no code, it got taken over by marketing operations team. So there was a separate team that was carved, which again reported into the CMO, but it was a team of people who understood technology specialists, and basically knew how to implement these technologies. But the problem was, they were still working in silos. They were not actually, it was not the marketeers who were working with them. Marketers came to them with a top level brief like, okay, listen, I want to essentially target so many consumers. You tell us how we can do this. And they used to come up with some vague use cases and problems. Now, today, what is happening is that with AI coming in, and all these 15,000 MarTech and AdTech platforms are essentially being democratized by agentic systems. So across the board, whether it is creative generation, hyper personalization engine, there are agentic systems that talk across all these platforms, and therefore the day-to-day marketers and strategists are essentially able to utilize these particular. Now, for example, when we talk about generative AI banners, and I'm going to talk about a relatable experience because this is something that you can probably think through. The other use cases are obviously a lot more complicated. 10 years before the advent of AI, you had to have like a creative agency which had 3 job functions. A creative strategist who take the brief from the marketing team and understand what would be like, someone like, for example, what a David Ogilvy used to do. And these people used to come up with the approach, comms approach, as well as the taglines, everything. or your social media marketing guy, digital marketing person who used to do all of that. This person would work with an art director. The idea of the art director is that person would understand how to translate that communication strategy into a design element, whether it's a video or it's a graphic, and an actual designer who would then basically take all those elements and incorporate it into a design, create banners, and then you would put it all on your ad platforms and run that. So your creative workflow was absolutely separated out from your other media workflow. Completely two different agencies, two different partners. Today, with Gen AI and agentic Gen AI coming into the place, this has become one team. So you don't need a specialist creative designer to essentially spend time and build those generative AI banners. So this is an example of marketing slash advertising transformation, which has come because of AI being plugged in. I am actually, in a way, at the forefront of this because Densu, obviously, while being one of the holdcos, we actually have like a 5,000 member designing team who does this day in, day out. I'm actually sitting with them and seeing how this is going to, for example, change their jobs, maybe displace their jobs, the cost economies that are happening. We are essentially right now having that conversation I speak, the leadership of my creative teams as we speak. We are trying to build that, and every other large company who has these kind of practices are essentially looking at the same thing. So when we talk about AI based systems, what typically happens is that it is actually transforming a MarTech or a AdTech system that is already there. And the last chart that you saw, it is now making it absolutely zero code, which means that normal and prompt based, which means that average marketeer can essentially use that. So the skill set upgrade is kind of also happening. So it is becoming less of a technology led skill set and more of an outcome led skill set. And all of these are getting integrated into one single work stream or a workflow. So this is the landscape and the outcomes from start to end. So why is all of this important? We are saying that senior people like us on this call, or whatever, or strategists like, or people like us on this call, we no longer need to worry about how do you implement a CRM, how do you use a CRM. That all is going to get hyper automated. What we need to understand is, why do we need a CRM? Should we buy a CRM or a CDP? What stage of the maturity of the business I am in? Now, this is just an example. I know I'm throwing a lot of jargon. I'm very, very sorry about it. I know I've not explained any of these platforms, but that is the complexity of it, right? These are, in its essence, technology platforms. So, for example, in any of the use cases that we said, whether it is Mondelez or whoever, do we need a CDP platform, or we only need a content experience personalization platform? Maybe it's a combination of both of them. So there are the invisible technology that powers these use cases, and there are the visible technologies that power these use cases. In a real world, in the ecosystem, it's going to be a combination of all of that, and different enterprises and different brands would need different pieces. Now, if you're starting up, like you're literally 6 महीने हो गए आप that your company is formed and you're just starting all of these things, you can use the extremely democratized MarTech version like a Zoho CRM suite. We can look at some of the simple pieces which can do marketing, email automation, SMS automation, WhatsApp automation. There are very small point solutions available. But a Zoho CRM will probably not work for a big enterprise which has to send 1 million emails a day. So for them, they use a much more sophisticated CDP technology, which essentially comes with either a Salesforce or an Oracle or somebody else. So this is like the spectrum of the piece that is happening. But it all boils down to the use cases and how do you want to utilize that. So I think this was my session for today. To recap, and we'll use the next 15 minutes to discuss the last half an hour or 1 hour, whatever we spoke about. But just to summarize, the use cases is critical. The use cases may or may need deployment of MarTech or AdTech platforms. Today, earlier there was a if I make the definition of MarTech AdTech platforms is also very gray. Right now, with unification happening, it's all becoming what you call as a tech platform, an enablement platform that allows you to achieve a particular marketing use case. So today the roles exist where there are generalists who understand consumer experience across the board, and then there are specialists who understand one specific platform ka nuances. So the role is also kind of widespread. It is very, very, if I may call it, it's fragmented for sure. But obviously, because of the pecking order, like a Google and a Meta ad platform and a let's say like something like a DV360, Amazon DSP will be right up there. And most people who want to understand ad tech and want to make a career out of it typically learn on these two, three platforms. If you learn these two, three platforms, typically you can work with any platform that are out there. And when it comes to MarTech, you work with, say, the top two, three platforms like a Salesforce or whatever. And if you work with these two, three platforms, then you are typically able to work with all of the particular platforms. So that's how the entire ecosystem is. But what we see is that there's going to be more and more unification. There's more and more agentic-led solutions, which means that technology specialization will go away and business use cases will come through. So 2 years from now, with agentic AI being the place, MarTech and AdTech technology platforms will get unified. You no longer need to worry about which platform will do what. You put a prompt saying that I need to do this, and the system AI, agentic AI system will essentially go out there and do it for you. Of course, the pricing and all will be there, but that is the future that we envision. So yeah, this was today's session, guys. Opening the floor for questions or any other thoughts or whatever.
Yeah. So I have two questions. You have answered them partially, but I would like a detailed perspective towards it. First one is a short, second one is a long. The short one is, what's the Dentsu's AI adoption rate in India? Only India I want. I don't want global because we are looking at Indian context. So what's the adoption rate of AI at Dentsu?
Okay, so technically that is proprietary information, but I will just give you directional piece. In terms of AdTech, it is the majority. Most of our platforms are AI enabled, and there are use cases that are out there. In terms of content, it is uh, um, it is in a minority position, but poised to take over in the next 1 year, because the decision is not just adoption of the technology, but the decision is what to do with people.
Yeah.
What
And
to,
following question, what's
yeah.
the future outlook of 2030? Like an honest from industry perspective, because you're sitting at the top tier. So what's the actual outlook of 2030?
The 2030, okay, 2030 is slightly a
Because
little more.
2025 is a roller coaster from 2024. So I'm just thinking what 2030 will get us.
Sure. So Google and Meta are definitely going to be fully automated. So in fact, not just Google and Meta, all of the top digital biddable platforms are going to be hyper automated. There is definitely going to be a unification of consumer data platforms and advertising platforms. The silos that we are seeing right now are no longer going to be existing. But I think the biggest transformation, if I were to put it, or the biggest change that will probably happen more than transformation, is that these are no longer going to be the domain of technology systems. It is going to be extremely nimble and extremely democratized. Anybody. So it is, I mean, what I'm trying to get is that when I say domain, the expertise. So your 15 years of experience in implementing a CDP platform is going to be made pretty redundant, because you're going to have an agentic AI system that will automatically code and integrate any CDP integrations within your web app or any other technology interface that you're using within your employees or whatever. So with coding changing significantly, integration, system integrators, etc., all of these roles will going to be quickly adopted into more agentic kind of a system. So all the tech, any platform which is to do with technology data is going to be transformed for sure. We see a huge change in terms of the cost economics of content, website creation, app creation, landing pages. The volume and the demand are going to remain the same, but what is going to change is, because it's going to be extremely low cost with the support of AI plus design specialists, the cost dynamics of it is going to change significantly.
Wow.
Scale dynamics are going to change significantly because of that. Now, for example, today, if you have to do A/B testing on a website, it will cost you maybe 20,000 bucks every time you create a new version of the page. With AI, that cost will probably come down to 500 rupees. And
Dentsu agency retainer, the cost will come down or no? Just kidding, but beautiful session. Loved it. Okay, now over to Cliff for whoever who asked question. Thank you so much.
Sure, Sagar. So, Sagar, it is not just a Dentsu problem. There are about 1,000 agencies in the country, everything is going to replace because it's big tech who is doing all of this. Now, technically, if Google and Meta automate all of this, because Meta is to Mark Zuckerberg has openly said. In fact, I just met them last week, the team from Meta, and what they showed me is that 2 years from now, they will only just do everything. You just give them money and they will do everything. Let's put it very plain and simple.
We have to think where we should go there.
It is here. So it's not just a question for us, it is a question for brands, advertisers. This lot of shifting dynamics that are going to happen for sure.
But Nihal, isn't that they say every time they meet the Meta people?
The difference
Even
is
the platform would also say the same.
So the difference, so I'll tell you, Anmol, and just to give you a specific, the difference is that when they are bullish about a product, the way they roll that product out, we understand. So, for example, today the best example of Google's automation products is what you call as Performance Max, Demand Gen, and AI Max. Everybody is talking about it today, but all the big guys knew about it in 2018. I adopted the first instance of Performance Max in 2018. When that happened, when Performance Max came, it rudely shook me because my 13 years of experience went down the drain. My search expertise, all my expertise that I learned, okay, not down the drain, but definitely it was like I had to relearn that how are these AI embedded systems working. And it is not just about like adoption, right? Because once you implement a product, how does it generate the results? How do you essentially manage the outcomes of it? If it does not deliver what is intended, what do you do? So all of those things also come along with it. So there was a huge unlearning or a learning that kind of happened. This was 2018, and a lot of people said ये तो चलेगा नहीं, इसको चलने के लिए 4 साल है, इसको इसका the signals that Google and Meta keep saying, that I need a lot of data. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little technical here, but Meta says something like they need something called as a copy infrastructure. Everybody is like, nobody's going to implement this. 14 months, adoption tripled with the advertisers. 14 months. That's the kind of push that they did because they also talk to the advertisers and brands directly. So between 2019 to 2021, rocket ship adoption. Today, budget spread between AI and non-AI is exactly what I said. AI-driven systems is majority, non-AI systems is minority. It is everything is going that way, and we see that maybe in the next 1.5 years it is going to be 90 or 95% plus, because today at least Google and Meta are giving the option to run those manual products. In 1.5 years they're going to turn off the lever on it.
Yeah, but they also push it very aggressively with the salespeople and top clients like Samsung and everyone to kind of
Not
see
just
the
top, that's the thing. Not just top, they're pushing it at the bottom of the pyramid, the SMBs. SMBs were always the last to adopt it, but today Google and Meta have structured their entire ecosystem to push the product across the entire pyramid, not just the top advertisers, which is why we know for a fact that the direction that is going is going to be completely transformative. That's what is happening.
Yeah, they just did last to last week in their Meta office WhatsApp business program. So I was there and it was insane. So they were asking agencies to go and sell WhatsApp to everybody.
Correct.
So WhatsApp is going to be big product for them now. So let's see.
WhatsApp was always a big product, Sagar. The problem is they never opened the doors to the data and the intelligence. What they're saying now, however, is that using AI, because privacy is a problem, so they can't unveil the consumer data. But using AI, they are saying at the back end, they will essentially use the context of the WhatsApp audiences to essentially give you better targeting, better outcomes. So they have an integration over there. So that is what is game changing. So like I said, a lot of these things are like existed, but it's getting supercharged with these products, which by the way they are claiming is proprietary. So you take it or you leave it types. That's what's happening.
Okay, Cliff.
Yes,
Right.
sorry.
Sorry, no. I come in a slightly unique perspective because I've moved from marketing into managing marketing stacks, and in fact, integrating all the siloed systems into singular data lakes, which then power up, all of our visual dashboards, the insights, and everything. But my question here is because now I know this, and I've been pushing this with my clients as well. That see, if you take an SMB, they may choose whatever platform they want. They have these great dreams of how they would like to market. The problem is, like you were mentioning earlier, the setup of the CDP, setup of the CRM to bring in all that information to a single area is the core area I personally see with companies today. They made I've seen people take Eloqua, Market, or they take the biggest tools out there, but ultimately they are not able to use them because they don't have proper insights or the data in place. So how, I mean, with the industry evolving as it is, and the unfortunate mindset that people feel that we have these tool options, we don't need any, we don't need this big data solution, we don't need all of this. We have to put this AI tool in and we launch it. In your opinion, isn't the actual curation of the data, getting it all in one place and then actually managing that in your CDP or a data lake or a warehouse, one of the core essential parts to actually begin all of these journeys?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right, Cliff. And data collection is always stage one of basically building any of those sophisticated audience models or propensity engines or whatever. You're absolutely right. The problem, however, is the decision maker, which I touched upon briefly. The decision maker doesn't care about how. The decision maker cares about the what. So I want to reduce the LTV by 20%. For that, I need to do 20 things. Now, what are those 20 things? Yes, they want to be aware of it, but they really don't care about how you do it. So if I'm able to achieve the same thing by doing just 5 things, and that is the gap in the industry and the reason why Indian advertisers, they bet less on automation, they bet less on technology powered platform, and it requires a quite evolved mindset. So you're right, Cliffs. The problem is that 80% of the listed companies or whatever, most of the people are very, very like, oh, मैं 100 रुपए दिया, what are you going to give me back in return? More of CFO-led conversation than a technology-led conversation. If the CTO would have been in the system, in fact, that is a tragedy of the CTO, right? The CTO, CDO, CMO roles converge, and now the same guy is expected to know across the board. So with that convergence that is happening, that person is now getting better suited to explain to the CFO and the CEO and the board. I'm talking about enterprise level, obviously, that why is this needed, whatever is there, and therefore the investment packets are being or the budgets are kind of realigned right now. But otherwise, earlier it was very simple. It was like, I'm giving you 100 rupees. Now you figure out you want to put it on TV, you figure out you want to do on email marketing, you figure out whatever you want to do. But I want to basically, if you put 100 rupees, you have to show me that you've given me 500 rupees. Very simple PNL, input, output, just like how a CFO would read. Nobody gives a shit about what is the method to do that. The problem with a lot of data conversations and tech stack conversation is that your investments on today would realize 3 years from now, because today you set up the infra, the data gets collected, 6 months down the line, then you are basically doing the modeling. Then 7 months down the line, you build the initial use cases, you start doing the pilots. Then after that, after 1 year, you are basically looking at. So for 100, most of the brands that are living quarter to quarter, this is way too long term to even think about fundamentals of those pieces. Somehow, even if a CEO got through it, it becomes a problem. So those are the conversations. But like I said, nothing like a rude environmental or kick to the leg with AI and other things coming in to kind of accelerate people's adoption. So when that kick comes in and people will see the competitive advantage where, like, say, even a SMB is able to give the same quality of output to an end consumer like a big enterprise, because now the democratization of technology has leveled the playing field. And that's when I think people will wake up and change things.
I can give you a positive on how AI has actually influenced things here. I mean, we were dependent on an external vendor to actually set up things, but however, now I discovered there was an AI model within Databricks, the platform you're using to build the visualization. So I have literally been able to replicate what they have done and build dashboards better than what they knew, because I have core understanding of the data, all using AI and code. So AI is actually taking away their jobs as well, but it's a good thing for a marketer from that sense. If you know what you need, you can ask the right question and get the right result. So I think
that's exactly the point, Cliff. So it is all going to be use case and outcome first, rather than let's put this technology and experiment what it can do for me. So that mindset shift is essentially what you're describing. And then AI and other ML technologies are making it very simple for someone like you with a maybe, or if I'm right in guessing, a non-technology background to do it much more easily.
So a very final question then. What is, I mean, a normal marketer as we know them today, their role has completely changed. It's transformed because they are now not the ones that to create. They need to know how to ask the questions to create, because the efficiency changes. So as you get more senior in the organization, now obviously you're going to lead people in that lines, but you also need to have that core experience of a traditional marketer to understand if the output is correct. I have seen various cases where AI has given me completely BS answers, right, or completely incorrect things. So I still do not trust some platforms when they give me what they suggest as the key audience or the correct target audience, because my own gut feel and experience tells me otherwise. And well, actually testing it, I have actually proven that my results were better. So how how much can we depend the technology that we have today and these new platforms that have come up?
Okay. So the learning curve on AI, and just, I mean, sorry guys, very advanced conversation. I don't know if it makes sense to you guys or not or whatever, but even with generative AI, which is what you're saying, right, where you see hallucinations for enterprise commercial use, that's the reason why everybody is not switched over. So you're absolutely right. But through trial and error, through iterations, I think a framework has been established, Cliff. So the science is in if we call it as the pre-training models that need to be created, and that pre-training models are proprietary. So what does that mean? Like for example, Densu, uh, image generation, it's just a matter of maybe subscribing to 4 or 5 AI products, which any other boutique agencies can do. What Denso has invested is taken the learnings of the last 1.5 years on any creative campaigns and everything that it has done, which is obviously allowed by our internal client contracts, to create pre-training data on generative AI. Now, with that data, powerful data, our pre-trained image generation product, which we have built, essentially are creating near real, if banners
Campaigns.
which are predicted to give which are predicted to give better outcomes than what otherwise you would do right out of the box, if I may call it. So, like I said, the idea is shifting to outcome based. So, when we are talking about generative AI or say banner generation, I'm giving you an example just because you said, we are no longer talking about just out of the box productivity hack improvements. We are talking about predictive engines that will generate outcomes, whether it's a creative asset or a video asset or a audience segmentation attribution asset, or audience attribution prediction, with a certain level of scoring, if I may put it, if I were to describe that. So that is a bleeding edge of how commercial usage of AI is being deployed. You can't use it out of the box for sure. There is some time before maybe a Google Meta builds a retail deployable products. So these kind of builds on top of it, if I were to give you a broad sense, is I think where we are. So exactly like the point that you made, a Databricks AI is a general purpose AI. The AI engine of Databricks pre-trained to your specific nuances, Cliff, and then ingested over there will be there. And the idea that we're trying to say is that all of these platforms should now build something called as an MCP. And using the MCP, then you can create your own custom AI so that the AI part of it and the data storage part of it and the compute part of it are all separated out. And therefore, you're able to essentially have a proprietary, if I may call it, hold over the kind of data that you're analyzing.
No, okay, understood. Thanks, Nihal.
Sure. Okay, that I think, okay, we are over time. I'm very, very sorry. It's 10 o'clock, guys. If there is one last question, happy to take that. Else, I think, thank you so much for being on this session. I hope you guys liked it and would love to hear your feedback. I think, okay, the poll has already been activated. Yeah, I would love to hear your feedback, guys, and try to see, and let's looking forward to the session next week. We will ship out all the material that I showed today. Hopefully you guys will can go through it and we'll kind of take it through again.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Amazing.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Happy Sunday.
Thank you.
Happy Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.